Hello, I'm Michael Wunsch. I'm the plant pathologist at the North Dakota State University Carrington Research Extension Center. I'd like to take a moment to discuss comparative fungicide efficacy for the management of white mold in soybeans. Specifically, in this presentation, I'm going to discuss the efficacy of the fungicide approach relative to competitive standards for the management of white mold in soybeans. I would like to stress that this is an abbreviated summary of comparative fungicide efficacy. I will only be presenting average results across multiple studies in this presentation. I would strongly recommend that you go to the corresponding PDF that gives the results for individual field studies so you can see the consistency of the response to an individual fungicide across studies. I'd also like to stress that calibrating fungicide droplet size relative to soybean canopy closure is critical for obtaining results similar to what I will be presenting. Starting in 2019, we adopted in our fungicide efficacy studies the droplet size recommendations that we developed on the basis of our fungicide droplet size testing for white mold management in soybeans. When we adopted those droplet size recommendations and started calibrating fungicide droplet size relative to soybean canopy closure, we dramatically improved the performance of all fungicides. But interestingly, the gains were the greatest in those fungicides of intermediate efficacy. Okay, so let me put this in other terms. The performance of every fungicide improved dramatically by calibrating fungicide droplet size relative to canopy closure. The improvement in fungicide efficacy of the best products was strong, but the improvement in fungicide efficacy of the products of intermediate efficacy was even stronger. And thus, what you can expect if you calibrate fungicide droplet size relative to canopy closure, the penalty to using one of those intermediate efficacy products is going to be lower than if you were just to go out and spray with fine droplets, as has traditionally been the recommendation. So, all of the results that I'm presenting here are from 2019 to 2024 in studies conducted in Carrington Oaks where we calibrated fungicide droplet size relative to canopy closure. You can expect that the differences in fungicide performance would be stronger if you applied with fine droplets, okay? And that overall fungicide performance would be much lower irrespective of the fungicide if you were applying just with fine droplets. I strongly recommend you review the fungicide droplet size recommendations that I am presenting in a separate presentation, because that is critical for achieving satisfactory management of white mold no matter what fungicide you utilize. Briefly on the methods, these were soybeans seeded to. All right, so very first, we're going to look at a comparison between APROACH applied at a relatively high rate versus Endura at a low rate. And what you can see immediately is that APROACH definitely showed efficacy, but it was not as good as Endura. Okay, and APROACH is a QOY or strobilurin or strobi FRAC 11 fungicide, and most of the fungicides in that mode of action do not have much, if any, efficacy against white mold. APROACH is different. It does have efficacy. It just might not be your best product against white mold, as these data would show. Okay, and here is another data slide. And this is with APROACH applied at a lower application rate. And here we see the same thing. It definitely has efficacy, but it's not as good as their mainline products, something like a Delero Complete or an Endura. And with APROACH, that's all the testing that we've done in the last few years since we adopted our droplet size recommendations, which is not as extensive as some of the other fungicides. But again, APROACH is a great foliar fungicide on soybeans, but it is not the best product against white mold. Okay, your mainline white mold products such as Delero Complete or Endura do perform better. Okay, but it certainly is an option for growers who are expecting low to moderate white mold pressure and are more interested in controlling other diseases and having a product that also has the bonus of having some degree of white mold activity. With that, I'd like to give sincere thanks to the funding sponsors. This research was funded by the pesticide registrants, and I'd also like to make it clear that this research is only possible due to the very dedicated work of my staff, Aaron Faust, Saran Collis, Jesse Hafner, Gabby Henson, and our student workers. Thank you very much.